Hello, welcome back to I Just Read It. We've got 4 ProRevenge stories here. One deals with a stolen bike. One deals with a man who has to leave a company because of a bad boss, and takes a team with him. One is about a man who likes to gossip being forced to discredit his own words. The final one is about a man who quits his job because he thinks he's rich. Don't forget to like and subscribe. This story is titled, Bike Thief Shipmates Tell Me to Get Screwed, There's Nothing I Can Do About It. Wrong. I served in the US Navy for 6 years and 3 of them were on an old supply ship. Prior to a Westpac deployment, I purchased a Schwindler Tour IV 10-speed bicycle to use for transportation both at our home port and overseas. I was a hospital corpsman and responsible for the medical care for the crew along with 2 other corpsmen. Despite the size of the ship, there is precious little space for the crew to store personal belongings and no designated place for bicycles. So during the deployment I had to move it around from time to time so it would not be in the way of the crew while doing their work. I didn't put a lock on it as I wanted people to be able to move it as needed, and where can you go with a bike while at sea? It was the only bike on the ship and the crew all knew who it belonged to. It was great being able to get around and explore places when we were in port. I had been keeping it in the forecastle near a battle dressing station, and one day while we're in Yokosuka I went to get it and head out on Liberty and the bike was gone. I went around asking my shipmates if it had been moved by someone and was told that a couple of seamen in the deck division had been seen with it at our last port stop in Sasebo. I found them and asked them what they had done with it, and they laughed at me and told me they had tossed it over the side because they were tired of looking at it. It was basically F you doc, you can't do shite about it. And for the moment they were right. Now these 2 deck apes did everything together and one day they decided to share a prostitute in Korea. Being idiots, they didn't use condoms and came to see me during sick call because it burned when they peed. I wasn't feeling any sympathy and told them that they had to be tested for the clap. This involved swabbing the urethra with a wool-tipped aluminum wire and making a slide to see what kind of bacteria that they had growing in their plumbing. I may have gone deeper than necessary for the sample. I stained the slides and looked at them under the microscope and didn't see any of the gram-negative diplococci I expected, meaning the drippy plumbing wasn't gonorrhea but NSU, or non-specific urethritis, which we treated with erythromycin. I told them that they had the clap. That means 1 shot in each butt cheek with 1.2 million units of penicillin with a 16-gauge needle. Now the penicillin is thick and kept refrigerated, and there's a med called Benamide that can help the body absorb it, but they didn't know that, and I didn't use it. If you want to be nice, you can let a person warm it in their hands before injecting it. Nah, I wasn't that nice. I injected that stuff nice and slow into each cheek right out of the fridge. And now that they had contracted a venereal disease, they were restricted to the ship and we were on our way to the Philippines, which was the favorite liberty port for sailors who like to party and get laid. They also needed to be retested to see if the treatment was effective, and of course it wasn't. Once again, the swab down the urethra, and this time I didn't even bother looking at the slides. Sorry guys, it looks like you still have the clap and yours is the penicillin-resistant kind. Now you get treated with Trobacin. Another injection, more waiting and restriction, and they're still blowing pecker snot in their shorts and feeling the burn every time they piss. Back to sick call they come, and I swab the plumbing once again and tell them that the clap is gone but there's a secondary infection of nonspecific urethritis, and now they need to take a 10-day course of erythromycin. So, no liberty in Subic for them and a few weeks of misery until the medication was effective. I didn't get my bike back, but I was satisfied that they didn't get away with it without some payback. This story is titled, Stole My Projects. Well, I'll steal your team. Hi, I'm on mobile and I know nothing about the markup on Reddit, so sorry. Also, English isn't my native language, so sorry again. Have you ever had a boss that comes to the office saying, hey prissies? What happened? Haven't fricked in a while, huh? Have you ever been so miserable in your work that seeing that one guy is not present that day can brighten your day? Have you ever come to Friday 5 p.m. and looks like you're coming out of prison? Yeah, the dude was not even my boss. This dude was a complete piece of shite. Homophobic, disrespectful, ungrateful, and if I keep on we'll be here for a while. Anyways, this dude was my coworker. A contractor that was good friends with the C-level of the company. It was a relatively small company, 300-ish employees. You see, this dude had a lot of crazy ideas, and as an evangelizer of a crappy programming language from Uruguay, he cost the company a shitload of money. Millions a year. The tool and licenses were expensive, finding programmers for that language were rare, and on and on. So, because of this dude's friendship with the CTO, he was able to keep up with whatever he wanted on the company, including whatever projects he wanted. Because he was so full of ideas, and himself, he would never finish a project, and as I was another project manager, he started stealing all of my projects. They took months of hard work, and getting the kudos. Well, I could not compete with an ass-kisser of the CTO, but I sure as hell would not leave that alone. I started looking for a job elsewhere, and after a couple months, I got a pretty good offer to be a dev at one of the big four. I gave my month of notice and started just talking with everyone from the Jerks team. Apparently, everyone were pissed at him, and just needed a little push. After my incentives, 5 guys quit, and after I was gone another 2 quit because in their words, I can work with you, but not with that guy. 1 month in and I casually invited the rising star of the Jerks team, a brilliant dev, to come work with me. I was able to cash a good bonus because of the invite. This dev was able to triple his salary, and after 6 months in, I was promoted to project manager of this new company. And the jerk, well, he sent a lot of messages saying that it was not cool what I did. You know what was not cool, Ricardo? You, freak you. This story is titled, Trash Your Own Manager and Department. You get to do a presentation. True story, names changed, years ago, yada, yada, yada. Chad was an engineer with a planning and support department for a portion of his company's infrastructure that impacted virtually every other part of the company. Unfortunately, Chad was a real asshole. During less than a year with the company, he had thoroughly trashed everyone in his department to anyone who would listen. He talked about their incompetence, their screw-ups, which were generally minor, and most importantly their failure to properly support the very mission-critical infrastructure they were responsible for. Every hiccup that occurred, however minor, was used as ammunition. What Chad told everyone who would listen eventually made it up to managers and directors throughout the company. That wasn't enough though. Chad made the mistake of trashing his own director, who was also his manager. Over the next few months there was no one even remotely involved with his department who didn't know what Chad was doing, including that manager. Chad's manager and director was Tim, a pretty crappy manager by most measures. He paid about 40% less than the industry average and had a staff of B and C players because of it, but he nevertheless expected absolute dedication from that staff. If he could have had them wash his car and pick up his dry cleaning, those things would have been added to their job descriptions. Tim was also pretty poor when it came to understanding what his own staff did and routinely made things up about their work while talking to other people. Everyone involved knew he was full of crap because what he said made no sense at all. Most rolled their eyes, but people also knew that Tim was a force to be reckoned with. Despite his shortcomings as a manager, the one place Tim excelled was corporate politics. He was able to consistently come through failures without a scratch when those failures would have sidelined anyone else. Tim would deftly play opponents off one another, then stand back and watch the fireworks. He had been at it for years and seemed to have a Teflon coating. Crap that stuck to everyone around him would slide right off. Tim, of course, knew exactly what Chad had been saying. Eventually Chad's trashing of his own department became so severe and their reputation so tarnished that a large directors' meeting was called to discuss the situation. The other department directors were out for blood. Enter Tim's ProRevenge. Tim tasked Chad, the very person responsible for the company gossip that resulted in the high-level meeting, with the job of putting together and then presenting a formal defense against his own gossip. Chad had to spend the next couple of weeks creating a formal presentation and repeatedly submitting it to Tim for approval. The meeting rolled around, and Chad was forced to stand up in front of a large group of company directors and managers and formally defend his own manager and department. Everyone at the meeting knew they were only there because of what Chad had been saying, and they sat back and watched him tear himself apart and prove the things he himself had been telling everyone were flat-out lies. Of course, Tim and his department came through completely unscathed, but Chad was thoroughly discredited throughout the company and knew it. He left that company for another within 6 months of that meeting and last was heard badmouthing everyone involved with his new company. This story is titled, Guy Quit His Job Thinking He Became Rich. Hey, new to Reddit. I thought I would post my story here. I work for a construction company and we do remodeling on homes. We have a rule here that we get to keep anything we find hidden behind the walls. We hired this guy, we really needed a worker badly, who was a total a-hole from day one. I've been working for this company for 5 years and this guy has only been doing construction for 1 year after he got fired from his accounting job for getting a DUI. Anyways, he would always make fun of my clothes and my accent, and one day he went too far by telling my boss about my private Instagram account pics. He got on my phone and looked through my Instagram page and showed my boss pictures of me smoking weed. Little did he know that my boss is my friend from 8 years when we used to smoke together before we both quit. I was so mad that he violated my privacy, then I made a plan to frick him over. He was the kind of guy who would always come in late and complain that trains or traffic is why he was always late. One day I overheard him saying that if he won the lottery, he would quit this job for not getting the respect he deserves. You have to earn your respect here. One day I bought some fake gold coins online and I put them in a metal box I found at the antique store and waited for a chance to hide it in a wall. Luckily, I did not have to wait long. The day he found the coins, it seemed like it was his best day ever. First thing he did when he opened the box, he called my boss an effing loser and he quit immediately on the spot. He said, "F this place. I'm rich, lol." Little did he know that was the best day of my life. After he quit, my boss told us that he was going to fire him anyways for always showing up late. I wish I could see the look on his face when he finds out the gold coins are fake. Best $40 I spent in my life. I apologize for my grammar. This just happened today, and my adrenaline is pumping hard. Thanks for reading. Edit. These houses are bought at auction. People don't live here, so everything is owned by the construction company. Thank you so very much for listening. Please check out my other videos and like and subscribe.